Well, it's way more complex than you'd think. Every single day, our devices are having dozens of these little private conversations. But what happens when a third party doesn't just eavesdrop, but actually steps in and impersonates one of them? Let's break down how this all gets started.
So it all starts with the Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE, pairing process. The best way to think of it is like a digital handshake. When two devices meet for the very first time, they create a shared secret. It's called a long-term key, or an LTK. This key is basically a secret password that proves they know each other, and it creates a trusted, encrypted link for all their future chats. In theory, it's super secure. But as we're about to see, that trust can be broken.
So how do you break that trust? Well, the first step in a really sophisticated attack isn't to try and crack the encryption. No, it's much cleverer than that. It's to trick the devices into thinking they've never even met before. This is what's known as a forced repairing attack. And it's so clever because the attacker doesn't need to crack that secret key at all. They just need to trick both devices into throwing it away. See, by flooding the connection with error signals or fake messages, they can make the devices think their trusted link is totally broken, which forces them to start that whole handshake process from scratch. So how does an attacker actually pull this off? Well, it starts with observation. They're just silently listening, looking for a pair of connected devices, like, say, your phone and your smartwatch. Then they trigger a disconnect. They send a very specific signal that makes your devices think their bond is broken and that they need to forget that precious long-term key. Now for the really crucial part. Interception. As your devices try to pair up again, the attacker jumps right into the middle of that new handshake. And finally, they exploit this new position, either by weakening the new connection's security or, worse, setting the stage for a complete takeover. And this quote right here, it just perfectly illustrates the real danger. The goal isn't just to make the devices pair up again. No, the goal is to completely reset the entire foundation of trust that was built between them. It's basically the digital version of giving them amnesia, all to open the door for a much, much more dangerous impersonation. Yeah, forcing a repair? That's just where the trouble starts. Because that ultimate goal is a full-blown man-in-the-middle attack, where the attacker isn't just listening in anymore, they become part of the conversation. In a man-in-the-middle attack, the bad guy becomes this invisible puppeteer. They secretly wedge themselves between two devices, and they intercept everything. They can read your messages, sure, but what's way more alarming is that they can actually alter them in real time before passing them along. So your device thinks it's talking to your headphones, but nope, it's really talking to the attacker. So let's look at how they do it. It all kicks off with reconnaissance. The attacker scans for a target and learns all of its digital quirks and behaviors. Then, the cloning. They create a perfect digital twin that advertises itself just like the real thing. Step 3 is interposition. This is where they trick one of your devices into connecting to their clone instead of the genuine article. And from that moment on, they can manipulate everything, acting as a proxy to steal your data or even inject their own. Now, this might all sound like something out of a spy movie, right? But the consequences are incredibly real. Let's take a look at what's truly at stake when these kinds of vulnerabilities get exploited. Just think about how widespread this risk is. In your car, an attacker could force a repair with your key fob to unlock the doors or even start the engine. In a hospital, and this is terrifying, they could inject false readings into a patient's insulin pump, which is a truly life-threatening scenario. In the office, they could clone a corporate keyboard to capture every single keystroke, stealing passwords, company secrets, you name it. Even just at the store, they could intercept a payment session to change the transaction amount without you ever knowing. Okay, I know, it's a pretty sobering picture, but the good news is we're not defenseless here. There are some really powerful ways to defend against these attacks. So let's dive into how we can rebuild our digital defenses. This table here lays out the key strategies pretty clearly. Some of these are for us, the users, and some are for the developers who build these gadgets in the first place. For example, simply requiring a user to confirm any repairing request is highly effective. On the developer side, things like detecting weird disconnection patterns and using authenticated pairing methods are absolutely critical. The strongest solutions, though, involve multiple layers, like adding extra security checks inside the application itself. And this brings us to a really crucial distinction. You see, a lot of devices use a method called JustWorks pairing because, well, it's convenient. You bring two devices close and bam, they connect automatically. The problem? As all the research makes clear, it offers zero protection against these man-in-the-middle attacks.
Authenticated pairing, on the other hand, makes you verify a passkey or compare a set of numbers on both screens. That one simple step proves the devices are who they say they are, and it effectively slams the door shut on any impersonator.
So here it is, your defensive playbook. The most important things to take away are these. First, just be suspicious of any unexpected pairing requests. If your headphones suddenly ask to repair for no reason at all, you should pause and think about it. Second, whenever you have the choice, try to pick devices that use that authenticated numeric comparison method. And finally, for any developers listening, the message is loud and clear. Just Works is fine for a simple speaker, but for anything handling sensitive data, it's a massive, massive liability.